I've been sewing surgical caps pretty much all day. I have a cousin who is in the medical field, and she is going to be treating and assisting with patients who have tested positive for COVID-19. So she did mention that she needed surgical caps, and she needed a lot of them so she could be able to use them throughout while she's at work. So the original ones that I was making earlier had a strap in the back. These ones don't have a strap in the back. It's sort of bonnet style, which I like a lot more. When it comes to functionality, it's a lot more functional, especially when it comes to different head sizes. So this is how it looks on. I can't get it too close because I have makeup on. So this is pretty much how it looks on the head, and obviously all the hair can fit under here. I won't do that because I have a lot of weave in my head. But this only took about 20 minutes to make. Super easy. I made some adjustments to the patterns that I originally had, and I'll kind of walk you guys through the changes that I did make. But really easy to make. And in the case that you have, you know, family members or friends that are in the medical field that may need surgical caps, I just wanted to make sure I recorded how to make these in the case that it could help someone else. So hope you enjoy, hope you learned something from it, and hope you're all staying safe and healthy out there. I normally do not make videos of me sewing or me creating things when I sew. But in hindsight of what's going on, there is a shortage of materials for our hospital staff and the people that work at hospitals, like doctors and nurses. So my cousin is a nurse, and she asked me to make her some surgical caps because she hasn't been able to really find any. So this is the outcome of the first one that I did. I didn't want to record it because it was the first one that I actually made, and I wasn't sure that it would come out right, but it did. So this is kind of like the complete look of the surgical cap that I did make. So for this, you really just need, she brought me cotton material. You do need elastic for this piece right here, and I was like loaded with elastic, so that was fine. And these are the two patterns that I used. So this is for your top piece, and this is going to be for the sides, and this one needs to be cut on a fold. So when you open it, it needs to be like a complete long piece because it has to go around the circumference of this one. So I learned that the measurements on this one are a bit too big for her head. The person that I got this pattern from had a bigger head, no shade. So I'm gonna go in and make adjustments to this one, and obviously I have to make some adjustments to this one to kind of shrink it a little bit so it can fit my cousin's head. So I'm gonna walk you through just the sewing process and how I sewed everything together for this. So be right back. So these are the materials that you are going to need in order to create a surgical cap. You are going to need an iron, and I'll show you why. And then these are the fabrics that she brought me. So she brought me 3 of these, and one was just this green cotton fabric, and the rest are some cotton fabrics. You are going to need a clothing pin or a loop turner, whichever one you prefer. Excuse how messy my pin little cup is, but you're going to need some pins. You are going to need elastic. I would recommend a thinner elastic. This is just what I had, but it has worked for me. Obviously, you're going to need scissors. And again, these are the patterns that I use to construct the surgical cap that I made. And I'm going to kind of, just so you guys can see the measurements that I use. This is 15 inches long. Here to here is about 8 inches from here to here. It's also 8 inches, sorry. And then this is 6 inches. This is 21.5 inches long. From here to here, like the width is 7.5 inches. And this piece right here, which is where you are going to, this is going to be where you tie. I can't lift it up, my nails are so long. This is gonna be where you tied the cap at, is about 1.5 inches. So just remember, this one has to be cut on the fold because you want one long strip of it. So remember I said I was gonna change the measurements because this part was a little bit too big. So I'm just gonna pull it over about inches. So also I forgot that you guys need measuring tape. Because I measured everything, I kind of forgot that step, but you do need measuring tape. So I'm just going to move this off a little bit so I can reduce how long this is, because 21.5 is a bit long for her head. So yeah, I'm gonna just cut the patterns out, and then once I cut the patterns out, I'll show you guys what I do next. Only need one piece of this pattern, so I unfolded it and I'm going to just cut along here. Okay, so I have all of my patterns cut out and I am ready to go. So now this is where the iron comes into play, and I'll show you guys what I'm going to do with the iron. Okay, so you are going to fold and iron this entire bottom piece, and then you're also going to fold and iron the top piece, but only up until here. So you'll see like it's folded and ironed from here until here, and then I ironed this end piece, and I did the same thing on the other side. So up here will not be folded and ironed. This is what's going to happen once you start to sew. So you're going to sew along here, and then you're going to do a zigzag stitch along here as well. So this entire piece will be folded, and you'll do a zigzag stitch all along here. And this is where you'll have like your two straps on both ends. And the same thing for this piece, because this is where your casing is going to be for your elastic band. Ooh. So it'll go here, and then you'll do a straight stitch, and that is where the clothing pin will come into play, because you're going to have to pull it through. Already using my zigzag stitch, and I'm going to come here and remember, this is where it was folded. I'm going to fold this on top of here, and I'm going to do a zigzag stitch along here, and then eventually this will come to like become disconnected. So you're going to continue the zigzag stitch here, and then you'll come back and do it straight across. With the middle piece, I'm going to do a straight stitch. So I have my settings on 2, which is a straight stitch, and then I'm just going to do a straight stitch straight across. Once you are done sewing, this is what it should look like. So you should have your zigzag stitch along the 2 side pieces here, and then now you should have 2 straps with the zigzag stitch straight across that bottom area, and then for your centerpiece you should just have that straight stitch there. Only need to cut about 3 inches of the elastic, and what I'm going to do is use this to pull the elastic through. It should look now, and I do recommend to pin the elastic to the other end so you don't lose it in the middle. And although that, I mean, this should be the easiest part, it could take some time if you don't pin this side, because it's going to keep like pulling all the way through. So now you see I have my clothing pin on this side, so I'm just going to do a straight stitch on one of these sides so I can hold the elastic in place. I am going to lay the 2 patterns down, right side facing each other, and then I'm going to pin. I'm really only just going to pin along the center where the forehead is, so I can start sewing around. As you can see, I have a little bit crooked, but I have my center pin, and I did the 2 sides here. If you are a beginner sewer, I do recommend that you just continue to go along and pin the sides all together so you don't mess up. But I didn't have that. I did the same thing when I did my first one, and I didn't have this problem at all. So you're just gonna sew both sides together around. So at the end it should look something like this. While I am sewing around, sewing both sides together, I am using a zigzag stitch again, and I'm actually going to go over it twice just so I can make sure that it is intact and fully in place. Here are 3 that I've made so far. This is my favorite one. They're very fun making them. Okay, I'm not gonna go that much in depth about this one because I really use the same sort of process. I did make some adjustments here. So instead of that long piece that was at the end, and it was 21.5 inches, it's now 13 inches, and it's still 7.5 inches wide, and then I cut about an inch off the top where it was 15 inches, now it's 14, still 8 inches across and still 6 inches at the bottom. The only thing I did differently is when I do that fold, when I'm folding and you know, when you iron it after you fold that piece, instead of folding it shut, I kind of fold it just so I can be able to push the elastic band through. And I guess I'll show you guys that because what I'm saying might be a little bit confusing. And for this way, you need probably about, to be safe, I do 15 inches of the elastic band just so it can go all around the cap.